Hey guys, welcome back to this project tutorial. Today we're going to be working on making respawning for units and when their health gets zero to respawn them by killing them. So, in order to do this, we're going to be doing a couple things. We're going to be adding an effect to units when they die, and we're going to be creating a new one when they respawn. So, the first thing we should do is go to player types and human players, and let's create an attribute. And if you already know which attribute to make, please go ahead and pause the video and make it. But what we're making is respawn timer right here, respawn timer. And you want the initial value. This is really important. You want it to be 100, and you want the max to be 100 and the minimum to be 100, a 0. And then your regen speed can be anything you guys want. That is a positive number. So no negative numbers like this. But I'm going to make it 10. You can make it 10, you can make it 8. It doesn't matter. You guys can try out different numbers. You'll see that it just changes the speed of respawning. And we can keep everything as the default. So we have respawn timer 100. Save that. And now, next thing we want to do is go to our homing unit and notice that we have a health bar. Because Hot Grenade is going to work on instantly killing all units that are within the bomb's range, we don't care about regenerate speed. So go ahead and set that to 0. Alright. Now here's what we're going to do. Every time a unit dies, we want to destroy the unit and we want to create a new unit somewhere else. So what I want you guys to do right now, I'm going to add a new script. I want you in this script, what trigger are we going to use in order to check if the unit's health is 0? Go ahead and pause the video and try to put that by yourself. Alright, so I hope you guys have answered, and so the correct answer here is unit's attribute becomes 0 or less. And really important is unit's attribute, not player. So make sure you have unit here, not player. And I'm just going to call this when a unit's attribute becomes 0 or less. And notice that for all of these scripts, everything is in a folder for the world events. Alright, so first thing we have to do for all attributes, like we've done in the previous videos, always check which attribute you're dealing with first. Because one day you're going to have multiple unit attributes and you're not going to know which is which. So is the triggering attribute type equal to health? If it is, then we can move forward, because now we're talking business. So what did we say we're going to do? We're going to destroy the unit and we're going to move it somewhere else. So in order to do that, we should mess with our respawn timer. So if you guys know how to do that, all you have to do is set player attribute value. So set player attribute value of respawn timer, because that's a player attribute, not a unit attribute, of which player, we'll get to that in a second. If you already know, please fill it in, as 0. So I want you guys to figure out which player you put here. Go ahead and use the parameters given to you in the script and try to figure this out. Alright, so the answer here is owner of triggering unit, because the unit triggered the script by having its attribute go down to 0. So the triggering unit. And we want to change the respawn timer of the owner of that unit to 0. And right after that, we want to destroy the triggering unit. Now, I've already covered this error before, but just to let you guys know again, you're going to have a bug here if your script looks like this. And the reason is, if you destroy the unit, then who's the owner of the triggering unit? Well, if the unit doesn't even exist, then you can't find the owner. So you have to make sure that this is looking like this. This is a very important thing that a lot of people run into. So this first part of the script doesn't actually do anything, because if our unit gets destroyed, what's going to happen is they're just going to not respawn because there's nothing to respawn them. So now let's create the actual respawn. So right here under unit events, let's add a new script, and this is going to actually respawn them. So what I want you guys to do is figure out what trigger is going to be going here. And here's a clue. It has to do with our respawn timer. So what trigger are we using here? Go ahead and pause the video. Alright, so the trigger we're using here is player's attribute becomes full. And the reason is because we're checking if the respawn timer is full. So when a player's attribute becomes full. Notice I'm continuing to follow the trend of naming my scripts my triggers. And remember, first rule, check that it's the right attribute, because in the future you might use multiple. And in this game, we actually are going to be using multiple, so I do recommend you check which is which. If attribute type is respawn timer, then what do we want to do? Well, we want to create a brand new unit for this player. So in order to do that, let's just create a unit. So let's create unit, add a position. We don't care about dimensions, so let's just use position. And we want to create a homie unit for the triggering player of the attribute, add a position. What position? I actually want you guys to use any position you want here. You could use a specific XY coordinate if you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and go to position in region, random position in entire map region. We've used this before. Basically, it just says put this somewhere random on the map, facing any angle you want. That doesn't matter. So do this. But there's one thing we're forgetting. We need to make sure the camera is tracking this unit. Otherwise, the player will not know where their unit is. You guys can try not tracking the camera and seeing what happens, but basically it's just gonna create a unit, but the player doesn't really have camera access, so they don't know where it is. Okay, and we've done this before, so I'm just gonna go past it. There you go. So this is gonna create a brand new unit and set their camera to track them. So what we should do now is we should save and apply, but there's no way for our unit's health to go down to 0 right now. So go back to the edit homie, and under health, temporarily, this is very temporarily, set this to -1 or -10 just to be fast, or -1 because to be slow. So save and apply. And so now if we go to play, you're gonna notice my health is rapidly dropping, and so is Sanatom's. So let's see what happens when our health becomes 0. Theoretically, we should die, and then after a little bit of time, we should respawn. And remember, if nothing happens, then the reason is we did not republish. Alright, we died, and now after a set amount of time, we should respawn. Alright, it has been longer than a set amount of time, so what we're going to do is we're going to republish the game. And so all we're doing right now is we're just checking out this health bar. So we don't have to worry about the timer being off or anything right now. So if your timer is working as intended, then don't worry right now. All we're doing is we're checking our HP bar. Alright, so now we just wait for this health to go down very slowly. And eventually it will hit 0. Okay, very, very close. And now the health is 0. So we have died, and there you go, we have respawned. And so this is going to continuously happen because our health is 0 at -1 regeneration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this -1 and make it back to 0. I recommend you do that immediately, otherwise you're going to get kind of annoyed in the back. So now if I just do that, you notice my health stopped. There we go. So now that we've done that, we have created a respawn system. But one issue is that there's no blood to show that the player died. And I think it would be a really nice touch to show you guys how to create effects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create an effect using a projectile. So you can use effects with items, you can do effects with units, but I'm going to show you with projectiles because I actually recommend these. So go ahead and add a projectile and a stationary effect. So this is going to be called blood effect. And we go ahead and change it to a blood icon. So I believe there's already a, yeah, right here. There's a built-in blood one. And you want to make sure that the size of this body type is somewhere close to the size of the unit. I believe the size of the unit is 50 by 50. So anywhere near that is a good number. So this is good. And alright, there's some really important things that we have to do here. We have to make sure that this blood effect does not collide with anything. Alright? We have to make sure that it's only a sprite, because this is bodiless and it should not touch anything. So if you just do sprite only, this should pretty much fix everything. So There you go. Just save. And lifespan, this can be however long you want the blood to show. So I'm just going to keep it at the default 1000, which means 1 second. So now we have blood effect. So what you want to do, and there's two ways to accomplish this. One way is to on destroy right here, effects. When this unit gets destroyed, create a blood effect. You can do that. Or I'm going to show you guys how to do it with code. You can go here to the unit's attribute becomes 0 and less. And you can create a projectile right here. Create projectile, create blood effect at entity position. Remember, this is at the position of the unit that just died. Now be careful, this is not homie. Homie is in general. So this is the homie unit type in general. We want to get a specific homie, which is the triggering unit right here. So what we want to do is position a triggering unit, create the blood effect, and we don't care about any velocity or rate angles. So we want to do that. Now, once again, if you put this down here below this destroy, there's no triggering unit, so this is not going to create a blood effect. So be very careful. Alright, so go ahead and save and apply. And you can go back to your homie unit and you can set the health back to -1. And let's just see what happens. So save, play, and oh, I forgot to save this. So save and apply the regeneration. Save and apply this. And you're going to notice that our health will start to go down gradually. So let's just refresh the game real quick. Oh wait, it says something is not saved. So I believe something got forgotten. Save and apply. There we go. Now you see that our health is slowly decreasing. Okay, and I'm about to die, and there should be a blood effect now. So you see this purple box. So a purple box, we've discussed this before. A purple box is just meaning that you have to republish to show the sprite. Very simple. So I hope that you guys are starting to get into the rhythm of game development with Mod.io, because it's a building process and you start to understand certain things happen all the time and you just get used to it. For me, it's kind of second nature to just always republish since the old editor always had you republish. But yeah, now we are in the game again, and we're just going to wait slowly for this timer to go down for the health, and eventually it's going to hit 0, and we're going to see that there's a blood effect. So now you should see a blood effect right where they died. There it is. And then it went away in 1 second. So there you go. That's how you create a death effect in Mod.io. So now, before this video ends, I'm just going to show you guys set the health back, the regeneration speed back to 0, and save and apply, just so that your units stop dying. And there you go. That's this part of the tutorial, and I'll see you guys in the next video.